Vietnam, a country in Southeast Asia with most of the region being thick endless jungle, was home to one of the worst wars in American history. The Vietnam War, which started in 1959, was a war fought over the spread of communism from northern Vietnam to southern Vietnam. The Vietnam War, which is also known as the Second Indochina War, was fought between the communist northern Vietnam, who had support from the communist Soviet Union and communist China, and southern Vietnam, who was allied with the United States. In the U.S., heavy protesting of the war occurred. Many people believe the reason for the protesting was the U.S. wanted to create a democratic southern Vietnam. The Vietnam War became the first war lost on the side of the United States, and this was later decided after the fall of Saigon on April 30th, 1975. This was declared the official end of the Vietnam War.
Today we will focus on one hero of the Vietnam War. His name is Dave Chaix, and he is one of the local Vietnam veterans. Chaix is most famous for his work with the 4th Infantry in Vietnam and the Mount York Orphans located in the Central Highlands. But with all heroes, he had to start somewhere. His start was his childhood. Chaix was born on August 23, 1945 in Raleigh, California. His early life followed the end of World War II, but the war did not affect his life whatsoever. When he was older and moved out during the start of the war, Chaix was drafted into the United States Army. Originally stationed in Fort Carson, Colorado with 5th Infantry, he decided he needed a change of pace in a place that was much warmer.
When were you deployed and how did you get involved with the service?
I was employed in Placerville with Pacific Telephone,
Alright.
and I was drafted.
Alright. And that would be 1964, I believe?
1966.
With that, Chaix, who at the time was a heavy truck driver, was sent to the Central Highlands of the Vietnam with the 4th Infantry. While making delivery between bases, Chaix encountered all sorts of dangers. While driving, he faced dangers of ambushes, landmines, and thick jungles. He was considered one of the lucky ones, though. Upon returning, he wasn't met with the horrific treatment as most Vietnam veterans faced, and he was able to return to his normal life.
In 2001, Chaix returned to Vietnam with members of both the 4th and 25th Infantries. Upon return to the Central Highlands, they came across a wooden church, and behind it was the VNam Orphanage. He and one of his friends gave all the money they had to the orphanage, and upon returning to the U.S., started fundraising money for it. Several years later, Chaix formed Friends of VNam Orphanages, a non-profit that donates to the orphanages. To this day, there are 7 orphanages and over 800 children.
Until 2001 to then make my first trip back. We ended up in Khartoum, which I had been many times during the war, and there was this wooden church, and behind the wooden church there was this very poor Montagnard orphanage, and I hadn't thought about the Montagnard people since I had left. And as it turns out, I should have known, the Montagnard people fought on our side. We came home and they stayed, and they were treated very, very poorly and are treated very, very poorly. So the need for orphanages, they have a short lifespan and a lot of poverty, so the orphanages have opened. So this friend of mine from Auburn, Pat McKee, and I were traveling together. We had about $50 apiece, and we left $100 and came back to Auburn and decided we needed to do something. That was kind of the start.
Good to hear. So, your organization, Friends of the VNam Orphanage, when did you officially start it?
In 2001, we started running across people who were doing the same thing as we were, mostly veterans groups, individuals. And as we started talking with them, we felt that we needed, because our fundraising was really mostly friends and family and would run anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000 a year.
Right.
That made a difference. Of course, there was only one orphanage and we supported them.
Right.
And by 2005, we decided we really needed to develop a 501c3 charity. So we did that with the help of other veterans. Another 4th Division veteran in Ohio happened to be retired from the IRS. So he was very helpful and had become our treasurer, Dennis Coyne. And then we picked up some others along the way, locally here and throughout the nation. And that had an interest. They're about half veterans and about half other. Just philanthropical people who really want to care and help. We have we put up a website then in 2005, and then we started to grow.
And when did you finally take the second orphanage under your wing?
Probably in 2006.
And then from then on, it spread to over 7 different orphanages.
Yeah, up until 2007, we took on a few more, 2 more. We now have in Khartoum, under the VNam umbrella, we have 6. And in Pleiku, we picked up 1. Pleiku's south of Khartoum, about 45 miles. And it's a...
We would like to thank Dave Chaix for lending us his time so that we could create a successful project. We would also like you, the audience, to remember Vietnam and our veterans.